The Haftorah this week is Ovadia, the book of Ovadia. What's strange about this book? I think it's 1142 in the Haftorah. The Parshat VaYishlach. Now the Parshat speaks about the conflict between Yaakov and Esav, and the Haftorah also speaks about Yaakov and Esav. But Ovadia is unique. It's the shortest book in Tanakh. It consists of one chapter. And who was Ovadia? He was a Ger Tzedek from Edom. A convert from Edom. Edom, the arch enemy. Who is Edom? Esav.
Was he the emperor's son?
No. We'll talk who he is. Edom is Esav. In the Parshat it says that another name for Esav was what? Edom. Like Clark Kent, Superman. Edom was the arch enemy of Am Yisrael. But it's strange that Edom produced this righteous convert, a Navi Hashem, called Ovadia. What does the name Ovadia mean? Ovadia Yosef is named after him. What does Ovadia mean? Eved Yud-Kei, the servant of God par excellence. Now, in the Parsha, Esav hates Yaakov. He reconciles temporarily. There's a strong hatred because Esav had a burning desire to get the brachas back from what? From Yaakov. So he was going to use violence to retrieve the brachas that he felt belongs to him. A great-great-grandson of Esav, Ovadia, you know what he said, David? If you can't beat him, join him. Ovadia said, I can get the brachas back. I don't have to kill Yaakov. I can what? Join him, become a Jew, become a Ger Tzedek, and by becoming a Ger Tzedek, becoming a Navi Hashem, he became an equal partner of Yaakov. So just to prove that if you can't beat him, join him. It's just amazing that Esav had some good in him. That good we see in the Parsha, where instead of knocking off Yaakov, he embraces him. So that good produced a great-great-grandson, Ovadia, the great Navi Hashem, Ovadia. So, Esav can join. Look, Yahadut Shirley is incredible. You know, other religions say, my way, the highway. Judaism says, if you're not born a Jew, you can join us. Even from the wicked arch-enemy Edom, you can join us and become not just a righteous convert, but become one of the Nevi'im that made it into what? In Tanakh.
Even a little bit good.
Right? The little good of Aser produced this great prophet Ovadia. So you see that we accept converts from any nation. Judaism does not discriminate. So he was teaching, Grandpa, you don't have to kill Yaakov. You can join Yaakov, become a Ger Tzedek, and this way you will be an equal partner in all the brachas of Yaakov. He goes on to prophesy something incredible. He comes to prophesy about my yeshiva. I'm not making this up. Look at verse 17, Sarah. You have it? Verse 17. Ubahar Tzion tia pleita. When the missiles start flying, Hezbollah has how many 100,000 missiles pointed at Israel? Right? Bahar Tzion tia pleita. The Asper Yeshiva, Mount Zion will be what? What does pleita mean? Refuge, right? What do they say? Refuge?
Remnant.
Remnant. Refuge. V'hoya Kodesh. It'll be holy. Yorshu Beit Yaakov et Morosheim. And the house of Yaakov will what? Inherit our rightful heritage. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? We'll inherit our rightful heritage. Before the Asper Yeshiva came in 1967, Har Tzion, who controlled it? Jordan, our peace partners. And after the 6-day war, we didn't capture it. We just what? The Navi says, the Yorshu Bet Yaakov Morosheim, we're just going to get back what was always ours. So we're not occupying anybody's land. I mean, even the Muslims believe in the Only Testament. No, they believe in the Only Testament. Bes Yaakov will just get back what belonged to us. So we came back after the 6-day war. We just took back what belonged to us. So he mentions Har Tzion over here. Now we're living this prophecy. If you take a look at verse 20. Verse 20. He mentions Golod Yerushalayim, he mentions Tzarfat, and he mentions Sfarad. He says that right before Mashiach comes, the Jews will come back from Tzarfat. What is Tzarfat? France. And Sfarad, Spain. Now when he wrote this, Connie, 2,800 years ago, France and Spain didn't exist. What is this Navi talking about? You see that, Rachmiel? That the Golus, the Jewish people who are exiled in France and in Sfarad, will what? Come back. So when he said this, the people said, Navi, take a pill and lie down. There was no such thing as, he said this 2,800 years ago, David. There was no such thing as France, and there's no such thing as what? As Sfarad. So obviously he is writing what? For our time. And how many Jews are coming back from France? And how many Jews from Sfarad? This is just incredible. Sfarad, our yeshiva has a girls' school on Mount Zion where we have dozens of girls who are coming back from the families of Anusim. You know what that means? The Maranos. So he's predicting that before Mashiach comes on Mount Zion, we're going to have these Jews coming back from Sfarad. This prophecy is literally coming true in our yeshiva, where dozens of Spanish families are rediscovering their Judaism, and they're sending their daughters to our yeshiva on Mount Zion. And how did the prophet Gershom know this 2,800 years ago? Look at the last verse in the Haftorah. Saviors will come up on Mount Zion. Who are the saviors on Mount Zion? Our yeshiva. Lishpot et Har Esav. The saviors from Mount Zion will come up to save us, to bring back the Jews from France and the lost Jews of Sfarad. How many Maranos, Anusim, literally are coming back and returning to Mount Zion, to our yeshiva on Mount Zion. Now, surely, how did the prophet know this 2,800 years ago? Right, he's a prophet. But when he spoke this, the people didn't know what he's talking about. Where's France? France and Spain, David, 2,800 years ago was what? Non-existent. Non-existent. So here you have a case of the Nevuah literally coming true in our Har Tzion. The prophet mentions Har Tzion twice. In 17, he mentions it, and in verse 21, Har Tzion. So Baruch Hashem, we have the schus to what? To see it. To make it all come true. We are living this prophecy. Now, in this week's Parshat, there's a strange incident, many strange, but one of them is about Devorah. Who was this Devorah? If you take a look at Bereshis 35, verse 8. Bereshis 35, verse 8. Devorah, Rivka's nurse, died, and she was buried underneath Bethel, underneath an old oak tree. Tie a yellow ribbon round an old oak tree. Dr. Abramson, well, I don't understand this. Why should I care that a lady named Devorah, who happens to be the nurse of Rivka, 3,700 years ago died, and she was buried underneath an old oak tree. Da la 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 la. The old oak tree. You see that? It's just what's it talking about? You have that, Rachmiel? Avi, you have that? Why should I care? And what was all the weeping about? They called it Alon Bochut, the oak tree of weeping. The oak tree of weeping. So Rashi says that the weeping really was for Rivka, right? Rivka also died this time, but the Torah covers up her death because it's a shame that she produced such a wicked son as Esav, and the Torah would publicize her death. People would come and curse her for giving birth to what? To the wicked Esav. So actually at this time, Rivka also died, but her death is covered up. Because it's a shanda. She couldn't have a proper funeral. Yaakov wasn't there. Esav hated her. People would curse her for producing an Esav. So the Torah covers up her death. But just writes about the death of Rivka, of Devorah, slicha. And she was buried mintachat Bethel. She was buried underneath Bethel. So what is the message that Torah is teaching me over here? We know Torah doesn't tell me, David, any stories. We know that Torah is GPS. Who's this mysterious Devorah that the Torah records her for posterity, and she was buried near a tree of weeping? What is the message for us? Let's... Ooh. Sarah just came back and she's already ahead of me. The Ariya Kodesh says that the prophetess and judge Devorah, who lived about 7 centuries later, was a reincarnation of what? Of this Devorah right here. Of this Devorah right here. Devorah HaNeviah, the Shofetet, in the book of Judges. She was a reincarnation about 7 centuries later. She lived 3,000 years ago. This was 37 years ago. Was a reincarnation of what? Of this nurse called Devorah. But that just begs the question, who was this mysterious Devorah that she's recorded for posterity, and her neshama became reincarnated, David, into the judge Devorah, the lady judge Devorah, the prophet of Israel. Not Judge Judy, Judge Devorah. So what is the message? Says the great Rav Soloveitchik. Rivka Imenu, this great lady, this great tzaddiket, this Bala Chesed, where did she grow up, David?
By Lavan.
By Lavan, surrounded by lowlifes. Her father was wicked, her brother was wicked, her townspeople were wicked, cruel, and immoral. Where did this Rivka Imenu get her education? To become such a tzaddiket, such a Balas Chesed. Not from her father. Low-life, what? Betuel, not from a brother, low-life Lavan. Lavan spelled backwards, surely is Noval. Noval means low-life. Not from the wicked, cruel, immoral townspeople, Gershom. Where did Rivka get her chinuch? To become this great Bala Chesed, the mother of the Jewish people. Who taught her, Kani? This mysterious Devorah. The unsung hero. A good teacher can change your life, but a bad teacher can change your life as well. If you read the book Off the Derech, many kids were turned off because the teacher, they asked a question and the teacher said, "That's a stupid question. How dare you question?" The teacher made fun of them and turned them off completely. I know a personal case like that. In a girls' school, where the girl questioned, and the teacher said, "Who are you to question? You're an ant compared to the great rabbis." That's how you talk to a student. It turned her off completely. Man, completely. She became ois from, and I don't want to say worse than that. But one cruel, negative word can turn a person off. But the other side of the coin, if you have a caring, compassionate, loving, kind teacher, it can make you a mensch for life. And the proof of the pudding is what? Rivka Imenu.
In your yeshiva, do you check the teachers and see if they're doing that?
We check our teachers. And no teacher speaks down to a kid. No teacher. We had that and we fired them. Because we practice what we preach. So this Devorah was the unsung hero. She's the one that taught the Midah to whom? To Rivka. To produce her Rivka, the mother of the Jewish people. So therefore she is enshrined forever, what? In the Torah. Message is Hakarat HaTov. Yes. Hakarat HaTov, how do you say that in English? Expressing appreciation and gratitude to an old teacher or a young teacher or anyone that does a chesed for you.
She had good judgment.
She had good judgment. And she produced, she was the governess, how you say, governess or the nursemaid. Of what? Of Rivka. And because of her, we have a Rivka, the mother of the Jewish people. Isn't that incredible?
You also have to judge.
So, and she became the Gilgal of the great Shofetet and Navi Devorah. But we find later on in the book of Judges. So, you know, teacher, I'm just doing my job. Just doing my job. The unsung heroes. And you have that. And the Torah wants to publicize and therefore puts her name down forever. This Devorah. And therefore Alon Bachut. Who wept for her? Yaakov wept for her. And the grandchildren of Rivka wept for her because she was responsible for the education of what? of the matriarch Rivka. The matriarch Rivka. The Torah wants to what? Publicize that. Hakora Tatov, expressing gratitude, and
That's 35:8.
that's what chapter? That was 35. 35 verse 8. You see? Like from left field, Devorah, Rivka's nurse, died. She was buried, and they called it the weeping old oak tree. Okay? Interesting. Now, it's very interesting that who named all the children? All the 12 tribes were named by what? The mamas, not the papas. Right? The mamas named the children. The Rabban explains because their name in Hebrew is your tafkid in life. It's the mission of the neshama. And since women are more in touch with their neshama, women are more spiritual, they're more godlike, so they're more qualified to look at the child and to name that child, because the name in Hebrew identifies the goal of that person. So all the children are named by the mothers, the mama. Throughout Tanakh, women are more spiritual. Women are more in touch with their neshama. Therefore, the word neshama is feminine, and the word shechina is feminine. So therefore, they're more qualified to look at this child, identify its mission, which is contained what? In the name. So it's very strange. Rashi wonders. If you look at Genesis 35. Genesis 35, verse 18. Rachel is dying in childbirth, and she names her son Ben-Oni, the son of my pain, because the birth of Benjamin caused the death of Rachel. So while Rachel was dying, you see that chapter 35, Avi, verse 18? When her soul left her body, she's dying, she called the son, what do they say in English? Ben-Oni, you have that, Avraham?
Yeah.
The son of what? They translate Ben-Oni?
To Benjamin.
No.
What do they translate?
35:18.
Oh, 18.
As her soul in the text.
Yeah.
Her soul was leaving her body. She was dying, right?
Yeah.
And she called his name Ben-Oni, right? Did they translate Ben-Oni?
Not there.
No, but I'm sorry, I said his father calls him Benjamin. No, down here.
His mother called him Ben-Oni,
The note down here says son of my mourning.
son of my pain, my suffering, because the birth of Benjamin caused his mother to die. And his father changed his name to Benjamin. So Rashi wonders, surely, how dare does Yaakov have the nerve to change the name that was given by his dying beloved wife?
When Israel.
Says Rashi something incredible. The only son of the 12 tribes, David, that was born in Pisgat Zev, in Israel, was Benjamin. All the other brothers were born on Ocean Parkway. In Syria. Rashi says, since Benjamin is the only son born in Eretz Yisrael, Yaakov had no choice, Abraham, to remove that negative name, Ben-Oni, the son of my pain, because in Eretz Yisrael, you cannot associate any negativity with Eretz Yisrael. The son of my pain. So Yaakov said, Benjamin. What does Benjamin mean? Right on. Right on. You're the only bro born in Eretz Yisrael. I have to change your name. You have the schus to be born here. You're a sabra. You're right on. So Yaakov Avinu couldn't allow the name of the son of my pain to remain because Benji was the only son born in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, Abraham, you only have to have good, positive thoughts. You can't associate anything negative with Eretz Yisrael. So he couldn't allow the name to stand. And therefore, he changed it to Benjamin. What a message. In Eretz Yisrael, you got to accent the positive and not focus on the negative. What's more negative than Ben-Oni, the son of my pain? What a message, Dr. Abrams. Yaakov is teaching us. In Eretz Yisrael, you only focus on the good, the positive, not on the negative. Benjamin means the son of my right hand. Or we would say right on, right on. Right?
Is there a source for that?
Right here. Why he changed his name.
No, why do we always accent the positive? Is there a source for that?
This pasuk. This pasuk. Rashi wonders. Your beloved wife is dying and gives the name, son of my pain. How dare you change the name? That's how you respect your beloved dying wife. So Rashi said, Nebuch, he had no choice. The only bro, Shulavad Nolad Beretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, you only have to have good thoughts, positive thoughts, nothing negative. Wow, that's pretty amazing. There's so many messages over here, so many messages. So what happens over here? So Yaakov puts up a matzeva. You see, Genesis 35:20. He puts up a matzeva. Where's the custom to put a stone on a grave? Who taught us that? You don't have a book? It's important to look in. Father Jacob. Genesis 35:20. You with me? Genesis 35:20. What does it say there, Rabbi Avram? Can you read that? Genesis 35:20.
Me?
Yeah.
Jacob set up a monument over her grave. It is the monument of Rachel's grave until today.
Ah, Kever Rachel, till today. Kever Rachel, 3,700 years ago. He set up a monument. And that's why we put up monuments, what? On top of graves. But why? Why? Why do you put a rock? I am a rock. What's the message, Gershom? If you look in Deuteronomy 32, God calls himself Hatzur. What does Hatzur mean? The rock. Hatzur, that's where the song comes from. In Devarim 32, God calls himself Hatzur. We're a piece of the rock. You know why you put a matzeva on a grave? That's a great nechama. My beloved relative is not 6 feet under. That's just his bodysuit. Where is she? With the rock. So you go to a cemetery, you look at the matzeva. It's a great comfort, David. The bodysuit is 6 feet under. But the person, his godly soul, is reunited with the rock. So you focus on the rock of the matzeva, you remind yourself that my beloved relative is now a piece of the rock. Remember that commercial? They got everything from us. They got everything from us. That's just incredible. So after his beloved wife dies, something strange happens. Genesis 35:22. Look how there's no cover-ups in the Torah. Other religions, Abraham doesn't expose the sins of their superheroes. In Yahadut, Abraham, tell it like it is. No cover-ups. Genesis 35:22. It's a painful pasuk. Anybody want to read that? Why not? Painful pasuk. Avi 35:22.
It came to pass.
Loud, please. Israel dwelt in that land.
Israel journeyed on, and he pitched his tent beyond Migdal in it.
No, it's 22. 35:22.
It came to pass while Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with
Reuven went and he slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine. Now the Talmud says he didn't actually do it, but the text says that he did it, and there are no cover-ups. And then it says Israel heard about it. You see a pay there? In the Torah scroll, there's a gap. There's a gap in the Torah scroll, Maddie. And then it says the Bnei Yaakov were 12. Now, Connie, I know how to count. I know that he had 12 sons. Why, after this incident, this terrible sin, Israel heard about it, and the Bnei Yaakov were 12? What does A got to do with B in the same verse? And why is there a pause in the verse? Pause. Please hear me well. Israel heard, right? Israel heard. And he wanted to really lynch into him. How dare you do that? There's a pause. There's a pause in the verse. In the Torah scroll, there's a gap. You never see a gap in the middle of a verse. He was struggling with himself. Should I what? Kick him out? Should I reject him? Should I cut him off? He bit his tongue. Yiddish Yoel. And the Bnei Yaakov remained 12. Otherwise, he would have lost him forever. What a message. He bit his tongue. It's done. It's done. If I could have stopped him beforehand, fine. But the deed is done. I can't reject and kick out my own flesh and blood, no matter what he did. So he did not reprimand him. Now, on his deathbed, he did. The pause is there. He struggled with himself. He swallowed. And there paused. There's a pay for pause. I'm not joking. It's a pay for pause. And therefore the Bnei Yaakov remained what?
12.
They remained 12. Otherwise, he would have gone what? To join the circus? Who knows? There's right? There's an amazing Rashi.
Great lesson for
There's a great lesson. What a lesson. I'm telling you, the Torah, there's so many lessons. There's an amazing Rashi in Sefer Devarim. Amazing Rashi in the beginning of Devarim. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu wait to rebuke the Jews only close to his death? Where did Moshe learn from? Rashi in Deuteronomy 1:1. Where did he learn from? David, right? He waited. He only rebuked them close to death. Where did he learn from?
Yaakov.
He learned from Yaakov. So Rashi says he learned from Yaakov. That Yaakov did not rebuke his sons only close to death. And Rashi quotes a Chazal. Why did he hold his fire, Avram Berkowitz? How dare you do this deed? Get the heck out of here. I'm cutting you off. So Rashi quotes Chazal. Ruvain Beni, you listening? My son Ruvain. Why did I not rebuke you all of these years? Because I was afraid you would leave me and join Uncle Esav in the discotheque. That's what Rashi quotes Chazal. You would leave me and join my uncle Esav. So therefore Yaakov held his fire and only rebuked him when? On his deathbed. Because then he knows what? It's sincere. It's from genuine love and he wants him to become better. But to rebuke him then, he's just going to alienate him. Turn him off. Yaakov was afraid that Reuven would join Uncle Esav in the circus. Rashi quotes Chazal. It's incredible. So you have to know when to rebuke, when to bite your tongue, and when to hold your fire. That's the message of the Torah over here. VaYishma Yisrael, Israel heard, and he didn't rebuke him, and therefore the Bnei Yaakov remained what? 12. A powerful message that the Torah is teaching. And we see that no matter how wicked Esav was, did Yitzchak ever kick him out? Yitzchak never rejected him. Never kicked him out. You don't reject your own flesh and blood. You can divorce a spouse, but you cannot divorce a child. Very important important message that the Torah is what? That the Torah is teaching us over here.
Rabbi, didn't they say that he just removed the bed from the tent?
That's what Chazal say. But the text does say that he did that. Chazal say he didn't actually do it. He just played around with the beds, whatever it is. But the text does say that. So even though he didn't actually do it, he did something that wasn't nice.
It was akin to doing it.
All right? Akin to doing it. And Yaakov did not reject him. Just like Yitzchak did not reject Esau. So, was Yitzchak's love wasted? It did no good with Esau, but it rehabilitated Eliphaz. Who was Eliphaz? The son of Esau. If you look at the book of Job, Maddie, the book of Job, Eliphaz was a prophet. One of the colleagues of Job. So Yitzchak, love is never wasted. If it doesn't work with one, it skips a generation. Yitzchak's love bore fruit with Eliphaz, his grandson, who became a righteous Gentile prophet, a colleague of Job in the book of Job. Important message that the Torah is teaching us. Right. Now, there's a very strange pasuk. People think the Bible is stories. You ain't got a book. You gotta look at Genesis 33. Yaakov came to a place called Sukkot. Genesis 33:17. Want to read that? Anybody want to read that? Don't all answer at once. Yaakov came to a place called Sukkot. He built a house, and he also built a barn. He built a shelter. Give me shelter. And for his what? Livestock. Therefore, he named the place Shelter. Remember, give me shelter? You understand that verse? I think very strange. I need to know, 3,700 years ago, Yaakov came to a place, he built some shelter huts, pens, for his livestock, and therefore he what? Named the place what? Shelter.
To let you know, I stayed there for 18 months.
What's the year 2017? Why didn't this happen 37 years ago? Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Who founded the ASPCA, Avram Berkowitz? Who founded the, what does the ASPCA stand for? What is Association of?
Society.
What?
Society for Prevention of Cruelty.
Who founded that, Maddie? Jacob, right here. Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Yaakov came to this place. He saw how people were abusing their animals. Left them out in the cold, in the heat to fry, to freeze in the winter. He made a public display, Elisheva, of building shelters and huts to teach a public display of kindness to animals. Animal rights in Judaism. Yaakov Avinu, it's not a history lesson. Dorit, right? Not a history lesson. A public display of being kind and merciful to your animals. That's a value not just in Judaism, but in Noachide religion as well. So therefore, he made a public display of building the sukkot for his mikveh, for his livestock. Hey guys, stop abusing and torturing your animals. It's against the Noachide religion. So therefore, he named the place Sukkot. Be mindful. Be kind to your animals. And the halacha says, before you sit down to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Yoel, you have to feed the cat or your bird. It's halacha. You have to feed your animals before you're allowed to eat, because the Torah is concerned not just physical pain of an animal. When the animal sees you eating and he's not, he has what? Mental anguish. Look how halacha is sensitive not just to the physical pain of creatures, but even to the mental anguish of creatures. It's a pasuk in the Shema. Only when your animals eat, only then are you permitted to eat. Wow. That's pretty incredible. Of course, there's another lesson. Another lesson. He called the place Sukkot. He just came with a close encounter with Esav. Esav is all about bluff, smoke and mirrors, Madison Avenue, smoke screen. What you see is what you get, right, Shirley? The Esav mentality, I gotta have it now, right? Live for today, wine, women, and what? And song, today we live, tomorrow we die, grab whatever, step on people, take what you can, because the only world is this world. That's the Esav mentality. So Yaakov came to a place right after that. Perhaps some of his children got influenced by the Esav mentality. He built a place and he called it Sukkot. What does sukkah remind you of? Temporary shelter. A sukkah, Dorit, is here today, gone tomorrow, right? This life is only a sukkah, guys. Don't be fooled by the smoke and mirrors of Wall Street or what? Madison Avenue, smartphone, a smarter phone. You're attached to the phone. When a person dies, he can't let go. What's going to happen with the phone? They'll take it and bury him with the phone. Or with his computer. He just can't let go. He's attached. Stuck in the ear like a juke in the ear. And they put him 6 feet under. I mean, this world is a sukkah. It's temporary. The bayit begins when we die. The death of the body is the birth of the soul. I'm a soul man. That's what Father Jacob is teaching us over here. Don't be fooled by the Esav mentality, smoke and mirrors. This world is a sukkah. Of course you have to enjoy this world, but you have to know it's only temporary. The life begins when a person dies. That's the paradox. The death of the body is the birth of the soul into eternity. And that's what Yaakov meant by calling the place Sukkot. Sukkot. Sukkah means a temporary shelter. Our stay here is temporary. Now if you look at a sukkah to be kosher, Yehuda, has to have more shade than sunlight. A sukkah to be kosher, Maddie, you need more shade than sunlight. Why? He said this world is a sukkah. It's temporary, it's frail, fragile. Isn't there more, in this world, isn't there more shade than sunlight?
Yes.
Most of us, right? Compared to the sunlight we have in our life, most of it is shade and darkness. But that's the way God set up the system. Remember, this world is a sukkah. Enjoy it, but don't put all your eggs here. Don't think that this is it.
What did we say at night? God is my shelter, I shall not fear.
Right? God is my shelter. Sukkat shalom, right? God is my shelter. Put your trust in Him. So the sukkah reminds us of how life is temporary and fragile. And so don't get too attached, right, to your cell phone or your smart or dumb phone. Don't get too attached, right? Some people, they just can't. It's like stuck like glue. It's a good thing you only have two hands, Gershon. You see them with two hands. Good thing they don't have a third one, but they have a juke in the ear also. So, okay. But anyway, strange pasuk over here. Look at the beginning. Yaakov Avinu was afraid. He was afraid of Esav. He was afraid of Esav. God promised him that He'll take care of him. Why are you so afraid, Dorit? God promised that He'll take care of him. So Rashi says, yes, God promised me, but perhaps after the promise, I goofed up. I goofed up and I did some sins, and therefore I'm no worthy of God's promise. He didn't doubt God. Who did he doubt? Himself. Yeah, God, you promised me all the goodies, and you delivered so much, perhaps I'm no longer worthy. Living with Lavan, perhaps I goofed up, and I forfeited your promise because of what? Of the chet that I committed. Which is very strange, because the first Rashi in Chumash says, he sends malachim to Esav. You see Genesis 32:5, and he says, I live in Lavan Garti. He says in Lavan Garti, Genesis 32:5, right in the beginning. He commanded the messenger, saying, so shall you say to my master Esav, in Lavan Garti, I live with Lavan. Says Rashi, the word Garti is Gematria Taryag. I live with Lavan, but I continue to keep the Taryag mitzvot. Rashi seems to contradict himself. Here Rashi says he was afraid he's no longer worthy of God's promise. Because why, David? He goofed up in Lavan's house. He committed sin. And here Rashi says, no, forget about it. Lavan Garti, v'Taryag mitzvah shamarti. Yehuda, even after I lived with Lavan, I continued to what? Observe the Taryag. So why are you so nervous? If you continue to do the mitzvot, then God's promise is what? Still good. So why are you so nervous and afraid? Rashi goes on. Rashi's so profound. I lived with Lavan, and I kept the Taryag mitzvot, but I did not learn from his evil deeds. Elisheva, that seems to be superfluous. If he says I kept the 613 despite living with wicked Lavan, then obviously I didn't learn from his evil deeds. Rashi does not repeat himself, I do, but Rashi, every word of Rashi is measured. If Rashi says I lived with the wicked Lavan, and despite that I kept the Taryag mitzvos, stop right there. What does Rashi have to go on? And I did not learn from his evil deeds. If he kept the 613, Maddie, obviously he didn't what? Learn from his evil deeds. What's the message? Yaakov was taking himself to task. What is he, bragging? Oh, I lived with Lavan, and I kept the mitzvahs. Check me out. What, do I deserve a medal? And why was he nervous that Esav was going to get him if he kept the mitzvot? I kept the mitzvot, but I didn't learn from Lavan's wicked deeds how to do mitzvot. Please hear me well. We do mitzvot by rote, by habit. You're supposed to learn from a wicked person. How does a wicked person boogie and disco and do averot? With excitement and enthusiasm. That's the way you're supposed to do a mitzvah. Yaakov was taking himself to task. I kept the mitzvot, but I didn't learn to do the mitzvot with the same excitement and enthusiasm that Lavan does averot. I'm so excited. supposed to learn from a wicked person. Not to do the wickedness, but to do the mitzvah with the same zeal and enthusiasm that a Rasha does his Averot. That's the way I should learn to do mitzvah. And Yaakov was taking himself to task. I did the mitzvot. I did them fashlufen. I say fashlufen, Maddie. Fashlufen by rote. I didn't learn to do them the way Lavan does Averot. With excitement. So it's not enough to do mitzvot. You got to do it with a bren. How do you say that in English, Avi? With a bren. That's why Lavan, that's why he was afraid. He was just going through the motions, and therefore I'm no longer worthy of what? Of receiving what? God's protection. Wow. Pretty amazing. How does the Parshat begin? 32:4, Yaakov sent angels before him. Doesn't it say that? Yaakov sent angels before him. What does that mean? The Mishnah says, every time we do a mitzvah, Avi, we create an angel. How does the Mishnah know that? Right here. These angels were created by Yaakov's good deeds. So when we do a good deed, we are creating an angel to go before us. Where? In Olam Haba. In life after death. We see the angels we created. Our good deeds create angels. But Nebuch, if we do sin, remember the movie Ghost? What's waiting for us on the other side? You make the call. We create our own reality. Angels or, God forbid, what? Devils. Devil or angel. They got everything from us. The awesome power of a human being to create angels or, God forbid, devils. Lo yaleinu. So that movie Ghost was right on target, I'll tell you. Remember that movie Ghost? With Whoopi Goldberg? No, you don't remember that? I'm dating myself. You didn't watch that, right? It's a powerful message over there. A powerful message, right? So Yaakov remains alone, and he has a wrestling match. You want to wrestle? Genesis 32:25, Yaakov remained alone, and the mysterious man wrestles with him until the break of dawn. Who was that mysterious? They call him a man. What do they say? 32. A man wrestled with him until what? Till the break of dawn. Is he a man? How do I know who he was? We know because look at verse 33. What does Yaakov name the name of that place? See verse 33? Yaakov named the place of the wrestling match Peniel. What does Peniel mean? The face of God. How do they translate that? Verse 33? Ain't got it? Genesis 32, verse 32. 32. Go ahead. Yeah. He named the place Peniel. Yeah, Peniel. Because I have seen what? I have seen the divine being. How do they translate that? I have seen a divine being.
The divine face to face. Yet my life was spared.
The divine face to face. So who was he wrestling with?
The angel of Asa.
The angel of Asa, right? You want to wrestle? What's the message for us, Elisheva? Who was he wrestling with? His Yetzer Hara. We all wrestle with our Yetzer Hara. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of man? Shadow knows. All of us, in the dead of night, we have our doubts. Is there really a God in charge? How could this be happening to me? We all wrestle with our devils. All of us do. It's only natural. And Yaakov was wounded. But in the end, what? He survived. You can't win all the battles. You win some, you lose some. Angels of God go up, the angels of God go down. Who are the angels of God? We are. Sometimes we go up and sometimes we go down. What's the message of the ladder? Nobody takes a coffee break on a ladder. Anybody take a coffee break on a ladder? If you're not climbing up,
Going down.
Automatically going down. Going down.
No coffee break.
You go down. It's okay. It's okay. God expects us to go down because He gave us a Yetzer Hara. You can't win them all. But after you go down, He expects us to what? Come up again. So Yaakov was wrestling with himself. Wrestling with God. His godly soul was wrestling within himself. Why is this tragedy happening to me? Don't we all wrestle with ourselves when, Le'aleinu, we have bad things happen? We wrestle. And we get wounded. Psychologically or physically. But we will, only the strong survive. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Who taught us that? Father Jacob. When the going gets tough, the tough get going or go shopping. Powerful message over here. So he was wounded in the thigh. The thigh represents, the Sefer Chinuch says, the thigh represents the future generations of the Jewish people. Many of the Jewish people will fall away and lose the battle. In America, about 70% of Jews are intermarrying. 70%? What Hitler couldn't do, we're doing to ourselves, lo yaleinu. So this is symbolized by wounded in the thigh. The thigh represents the unborn generations of Jews who will lose the battle. But there'll always be a righteous remnant, Yehuda. There'll always be a righteous remnant. We have a guarantee that we are an eternal people. With a righteous remnant. And that's what Chazal mean. The Medrash says that Jacob's image is engraved on the throne of glory. What does that mean? Jacob's image. The throne of glory represents permanence and eternity. God's throne. So what is God saying? Just like my throne is eternal and permanent, Jacob, who does Jacob represent? The nation of Israel will be permanent despite all of the casualties and the losses and the Holocaust and the intermarriage. The Jewish people, the nucleus is eternal and permanent. And that's symbolized when the Medrash says that Jacob's face is engraved in the throne of glory. Now sometimes he's called Yaakov, sometimes he's called Yisrael, right? What's the difference? Unlike Avram and Abraham, but God canceled Abraham, and now he's called Abraham, the name Yaakov remains. Now he's called Yaakov Israel. Are we called the Bnei Yaakov? We called Bnei Yisrael. What do we call him?
Israel.
Why not called Bnei Yaakov? Yaakov represents the individual. The individual in his personal life. Then he's called Yaakov. Yisrael represents not just the person himself, but the nation. The nation of Israel. His role as the progenitor of the Jewish nation. So in his private dealings, he's called Yaakov, personal life. When he's called Yisrael, he is the progenitor. I like that word, but progenitor of the nation of Israel. Now, what does Yisrael stand for? Yishar El.
Straight.
You ask anybody for directions, Avram, they tell you Yishar, Yishar, Adasof. You'll get there. All in a circle anyway. Yishar El. We have to be straight with God or upright with God. But it also means Sar El, the Prince of God. Therefore, the Vatican, until recently, they couldn't pronounce the name. They didn't want to pronounce the name Yisrael. Yisrael means Sar El, the minister of God. We are supposed to be God's ministers. A Sar in Hebrew means a prince, a minister. But that was the name. Did Malach call them that? And then God called them that later on, right? God called them that later on. So why did God have to repeat that promise, right? If you take a look at Bereshis 35, Pasuk 10, God said to him, Shimcha Yaakov, your name is Yaakov, but on top of that, you'll also be called what? Yisrael. 35:10. In the year 35:10, God said to him, Shimcha Yaakov, your name Yaakov is not canceled, but now you'll also be called Yisrael. Okay? You'll be called Yisrael. So, does God give a reason why? And he called his name Yisrael. So here God doesn't give a reason. But the angel, when the angel renames him before that, the angel does say, we go back to Bereshit 32, right? The angel says to him in verse 29, you have that, Yehuda, 32:29? Your name will no longer only be Yaakov, but Yisrael, ki sarita im Elohim, v'manoshim v'tuchal. How do you English translate that? 32:29, you have that? Why not?
He said, no longer will he said your name is Jacob and Israel, for you have struggled with the vine and with man and have overcome.
You have fought with God. What does that mean?
Yes.
You have fought with God and with people. We shall overcome. The Jewish people have a lot of chutzpah, even to fight with God. VaYishlach Barditchev, you know how he fought with God? He took God to a din Torah. VaYishlach Barditchev. What are you doing to your people, God? VaYishlach Barditchev, you heard of the great Barditchever? You never heard of him? VaYishlach. He would take God to a din Torah. He was the great defender of Am Yisrael, better than Alan Dershowitz. Levi Yitzchak Barditchev. So God loves a good argument, right? Look how Abraham fought with him. Look how Abraham fought with him. Abraham, how he talks to him. If I talk like this, they throw me out of yeshiva. Go back to Parshat Vayera. Go back to Parshat Vayera. Go back to Genesis 18. Rewind the tape, Gershon. Genesis 18, verse 23. When God said, I want to nuke Sodom, remember? What does Abraham say? Oh, go right ahead. You're in charge. Genesis 18:23. Abraham approached and he said, will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? Huh? Does he say that? Yep. Verse 25 of Abraham. This is Abraham speaking to God. Go ahead.
Verse 25. It would be sacrilege to you to do such a thing.
Do what thing?
To bring death upon the righteous along with the wicked. So the righteous would be like the wicked. It would be sacrilege to you, shall the judge of all the earth not do justice.
Abraham is going to teach God justice? Dr. Abramson, what's going on over here? And why tell me about it, Connie? He said it 3,800 years ago. Abraham, who God calls my lover in Isaiah, he says to God, how dare you do such a thing to kill the righteous with the wicked? How dare you? Shall the judge of the entire universe not do justice? So God could have said, who are you to question me? Take a pill and lie down. What does God do? He gives him a knip in the bekel. How do you say? Connie gives him a knip in the bekel. It's just incredible. We are God's partner. We're not his puppets. We're his partners.
God has no ego.
God can take it. God can take it. Look how Abraham speaks to him. And how does Moses speak to him?
Same way.
Take my name.
How does Moses speak to him? Now, look what Moses says to him. Give me 5 more minutes, please. Look what Moses says to him. Exodus 5. David, you got to look at this. Exodus 5, verse 22. Every Jew at 22. God sends Moses, let my people go. The book is better than the movie. 10 Commandments, the book is better. Right? So Moshe returns to God. Exodus 5, verse 22. I'll wait. I wonder if they translate correctly. He goes to Pharaoh. Pharaoh turns him down and turns up the heat, right? He goes back to God. Exodus 5:22. Go ahead, Abraham.
Moses returned to Hashem and said, my Lord, why have you done evil to this people? Why have you sent me?
Why have you done evil to this people? Moses, how dare you talk to me like that? Connie, does he get fired? What? Moses, that's how you talk to God? Wow, what a message. What a message. God doesn't fire him. I think he gives him a promotion, Avi. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. So what's the message? God says, you guys are my partners. You've got to help me, Tikkun Olam. I can't do it without you. Look how important I am to God. He needs me. That should make me feel very good. Every person is unique and special. And if I don't do it, it ain't going to get done. God is depending and relying on me and you and you and me. It's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin 37. Bishvili nivra olam. The entire universe was created, what? Just for me. Get out of the way. Okay, Sunday at 2 o'clock, we have a shiur. Thursdays at 2:30, Sundays at 2. What's going on now with the railroad working on Shabbos? Shabbat versus the state of Israel. So how do you reconcile? The state of Israel needs to do things. Shabbat, what takes precedence? Of course, Shabbat, let's see. So that's Shabbat versus the state of Israel. That's Sunday at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.